the world could be a joyous place of us just basically being creative together instead of all of this misery and death that we're seeing.
But then the problem is not our intellectual capacity. The problem is our altruistic capacity.
No, our problem is this. If you want to hear what my
Well,
theory,
I think I saw a film about it, so I'd love
yeah,
to. Yeah, yeah. How are you?
I'm fine. Good morning.
How are you feeling now that this? Because you've had this thing in your mind for what, like 40 years?
Yeah, that's what you say, but it's not quite exactly like that. I mean, what it really comes down to is that I had a career. I was young and I was successful, so my life was turned upside down because I had been very poor uh, up until The Godfather, but I was married and I already had two kids and a pregnant wife, so obviously I was very concerned with making a living and supporting my family. But basically, I made a bunch of projects, and I was always interested in doing something different, so I would learn rather than make the same movie over and over again. And I made a film after a while called John Grisham's The Rainmaker. And after that movie, I sort of took a hiatus, and I wanted to just not make films professionally anymore, and I wanted to more fiddle around, experiment with them, and maybe make some very cheap, you know, projects and learn basically. I wanted to learn, especially I wanted to learn about acting because movie business, they feel if you pay an actor the same to shoot as to rehearse, then they want you to shoot.
Yeah, right,
So
right,
you
right,
don't get
right.
any rehearsal, whereas in theater, it's all about rehearsal and what you do. And very often when you rehearse for theater, you don't even use the play. You're doing theater games or you're doing improvisations.
Yeah, trust building and all that
Yeah,
stuff.
well,
Yeah.
it's more than trust building, and we can talk about it if you want to, but the characters come into being in a very interesting process. And I wanted to learn more about that, and I did. I did a lot of experimentation, and just even with the shooting of it, I didn't have a lot of money that I could bring some of the wonderful photographers and stuff. So I hired a young Romanian kid who was a film student, and he shot
Oh
Megalopolis.
well.
After this period, after doing it, that's when I started to think, well, I'd love to make a Roman epic because Rome, movies like The Robe or Quo Vadis or Spartacus. Rome had all these great movie elements. They had battle scenes. They had sexy Roman patrician ladies that
Yeah.
were behind the scenes causing everything to happen. They had nutty people like Caligula. They had just all sorts of interesting things. And I thought it would be fun for me to tackle that. And then little by little, reading and studying, and I began to realize that America was Rome today, that America had been founded on Rome. We have a Senate, we don't have a king, we have Roman law. And then you look at New York, and there's all these, even in Toronto, you have the station looks like Rome.
Yeah.
So I came up with this idea to make a movie where we are essentially New Rome, and interestingly enough, right as the movie is about to come out, America's going through the same thing Rome did thousands of years, and we may lose the republic.
Can you tell me more about that? Because I saw a quote from you about that I found interesting. You said to do a Roman epic set in modern America, I had no idea that the politics of today would make that so relevant. What did you realize? Talk to me about
Well, I
that.
realized that Rome, what happened in Rome, Rome made a lot of money because it was conquering half the world, and that money was going into Rome, but didn't really just all go to the people. It went to the people running Rome, who were the senators, and the same exact thing is happening in America, where America, of course, there's a lot of money. You know, this is a time of great economic recession, but in the world, no one's getting through it better than America is. America has a lot of money,
Yeah.
and that money is all. And what our senators are doing now, instead of really running the country and making it as good as it possibly could, they're all manipulating their power. That's exactly what Rome's senators did, and ultimately how Rome lost it and ended up with a king. or a dictator at first.
So you start seeing the parallels then between
Well,
modern.
I'm not the only one seeing it. Everybody,
Yeah.
they do Saturday Night Live skits about it.
Yeah.
That's what's happening right now. When this movie comes out, it's coming out the same, weirdly, because I made the movie The Conversation
Yeah.
about surveillance, and no one knew what eavesdropping was. But then 10 years later, Watergate happened, and they all knew the same thing is happening with this picture.
So when I was watching it last night, it is so much about. Okay, come on in. It is so much about. I was seeing the parallels to the world these days, and I was seeing the parallel to wealth inequality, to rampant capitalism, to authoritarianism, to those who take power not trying to serve the people who elect them. And I was always, to be candid with you, waiting for the evil turn to happen and for the film to end in this bleakness and the film to end in this sadness and suffering and look how corrupt the world really is. But it's such an uncynical film. It's such a hopeful
Well,
film.
let me ask you a question.
Please.
Human beings, you know a little bit about our species. Do
A
you
little
know-
bit, yeah.
Do you know how long we've lived on this earth? I won't play a game with you. They don't know, but it's about 300,000 years.
Yeah,
Homo sapien,
yeah,
knowing man,
yeah,
and we're intelligent.
yeah.
Now, compared to us, is there any creature that is in any? I mean, we know that octopuses are intelligent. We know elephants are intelligent. We know pigs are
Pigs are-
intelligent.
yeah.
Crows are intelligent. But chimpanzees are intelligent. But how intelligent are we? Are we just a little more intelligent, or are we a lot more intelligent? I mean, how great are we? You see, that's what it really. Why don't we ever say the truth, which is we're geniuses? This is a genius species. What we can do, our language that we speak, we have decoded the genome. We have learned how to resplice the genome. We send craft to photograph Mars. We can analyze and use advanced science to analyze the movement of black holes and the stars. We could go and we can move icebergs. What creature can do that? I mean, none, right?
Yeah.
All right, so why do you never hear it said anywhere the human being is a genius species
Yeah.
when it's so obviously true? If we are the genius species that I believe we are, that means that there's no problem that we face on this earth regarding the planet, the climate, the ability to create electricity without polluting, to find how we can deal with aircraft to not pollute. In other words, if we're really geniuses, which I am sure we are,
Sure. Yeah.
then there's nothing we can't solve. And so therefore the world could be a joyous place of us just basically being creative together instead of all of this misery and death that we're seeing.
But then the problem is not our intellectual capacity. The problem is our altruistic capacity.
No, our problem is this, if you want to hear what my theory.
Well, I think I saw a film about it, so I'd love to. Yeah, yeah.
Basically, what we are living in a world of unfulfilled people. In other words, people we spend $7 trillion or more on advertising, selling the idea of happiness. Well, if your business is to sell a little bit of happiness, the people you're selling to can't be happy. They have to be unhappy.
Yeah.
So we are deliberately keeping our system that we're involved in is deliberately keeping human beings unhappy so they'll buy a little happiness. But it's not necessary that they be unhappy. In other words, they're unfulfilled because the fact that they are unfulfilled makes them easy to fleece.
But why are you hopeful as a filmmaker? And I don't mean that in a snappy journalistic question way.
You can be snappy. I don't care.
What I mean is that
Why am I hopeful?
well, because it's easy to make a film that's cynical. And it's easy to be cynical. And I spend a lot of time thinking about compassion and altruism. And
Well, what does the film say? The film says pretty clearly that utopia is to be able to talk about it and ask any question. That is utopia. That if we would just have a conversation, all the film is saying, let's talk.
Yeah.
It's time to talk about the future.
Yeah.
But Don't you agree? It's time to talk about the future. We
Yeah.
should, and we have to talk in a way where you can ask any question. I want to say, a little 14-year-old kid just went and shot all his schoolmates.
Yeah.
Can we talk about why is that kid so miserable?
Yeah.
Is it necessary he be miserable, or is our whole advertising? What does advertising say to you? It says to you, you're not okay the way you are. But it doesn't say you're not okay the way you are once. It says it over and over and over and over again, subliminally. You're not okay the way you are. If you had a Mercedes, you'd be okay.
Yeah.
You're not. So that our commercials an ingredient in mental disease. Because if we're doing it, if we're making that poor kid,
Yeah.
I mean, I say that poor kid. Trump called him an insane monster. A 14-year-old kid, an insane monster. How did he get to be an insane monster? See, he's heartbroken. Probably he's probably feels he's that no that he has that. I mean, I can't even imagine what he would feel to go out and shoot four of his friends. So all I'm saying is that the horrors of our world are unnecessary. It's our system we have to talk about. And it's not like we should have communism or something. Those systems have also problems. We have to quit. Making what we're selling happiness and keeping the people unhappy so they'll be customers.
There's a great compassion there I hear in you. You know, a great love for all people and a great.
For people,
Yeah, yeah.
you're my cousin.
Yeah.
You're my fellow human being.
Yeah.
Of course, I have a feeling of love for you.
I saw, right back at you. I saw in the, but I saw that in the casting too. Like I saw people on, you want to talk about like being an incredibly polarized society right now and people not being able to have conversations. I saw people on the extreme, like people who are deep Trump supporters. I saw John Voight, very deep Trump supporter. I saw folks who are, very, very progressive. And so I ended up reading about it and reading about your decision. And it was intentional to have people from differing sides.
Because we were above politics. We were all working together, enjoying each other.
How did that go? What were the conversations
We were
like?
all working together, enjoying each other. This film is a collaboration between those actors, even on stuff that wasn't their scene. If an actor said, I think we ought to do such and such, I said, let's try it. What do we have to lose? If I don't like it, if we don't like it, if it doesn't work, we won't do it. It was a very collaborative film, and that's one of the reasons it's as nutty as it is, because I would do things with them just to help the actors. So in the early days, I said, let's pretend. I want a scene where she was following him in Madison Square Garden and sort of seeing what he was doing. So I said, let's do an imaginary rope, and let's have this imaginary rope, and you're holding it, and it's sort of tied to him, or he's holding it. And let's do a few takes like that. So we did a few takes where she was holding him and he was like going like that and stuff. But I was just doing it for the actors to get into the groove. And then we said, okay, now let's not do that. Let's just do a scene where you're just following him. But when we looked at the footage together, we saw the one with the imaginary rope, and we said, let's do more like that. That's sort of fun. And let's not do the normal. So the movie started making itself.
I wanted to ask you about your relationship with risk. When you read about this movie, there's a lot about, Francis Ford Coppola puts his reputation on the line, puts his money on the line. And what was funny is I watched Hearts of Darkness last night, right before.
That's a good movie.
Right before, pretty good. Good subject. I watched it right before I watched Megalopolis. They were saying it about you then for Apocalypse Now. Francis Ford Coppola is putting his reputation on the line. Francis Ford Coppola is putting all his money on the line.
And in those days, interest was 21%.
Oh yeah. What's your relationship with risk? I feel like it might be different than other people's.
Well, I don't know the answer to that, obviously. We live our lives from being a little kid to being old, but we can only understand it if we were looking the other way. In other words, we all live our lives looking forward, but to understand our lives, we got to look the other way and see. I was that little kid, and then I'm this little guy in school. Then I got polio, so I was paralyzed. And you understand your life more when you're looking at it from the other point of view, which is impossible. But I try to do that, and my feeling is I know that I know when I made The Godfather, I had no power at all. I had a wife, I had 2 kids, and she was pregnant, and I loved my kids. I loved my wife, and I had to support them. So I didn't want to do The Godfather, but I did the job. I took it. I had to, and then everything changed. But what I did is I became very Machiavellian. In other words, I tricked them into letting me have Brando. I tricked them. So in a sense, I turned into Michael Corleone, and I was that kind of Machiavellian guy, just like Michael was as he takes over. Then
Yeah.
later, I found myself in the movie you saw, and I was in the Philippines. I had millions of dollars worth of helicopters. The helicopters they were fighting a war, so the helicopters would all be gone. I was in an impossible situation. So I turned into a megalomaniac. I turned into Kurtz. And I'm beginning to realize that I always became the character of the movie I was working on because I had to. And this is weird, and to me, I'll never understand. I was making a movie about a man who loses his son, and I lost my son. I'm saying, what is this? Do I have to, is this my life, or is this basically all the movies I'm making is my life? I mean, when that happened, of course, that's not something I can see why I became like Kurtz because I had to,
Yeah.
but I didn't have to lose my son.
Yeah.
But the movie was about a guy who loses his son.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure I understand my life. My life might all be a Charlie Kaufman movie.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
how I feel.
Well, but even with Megalopolis, why were you so? And you might not have an answer to this, but I just don't and meet anybody who's willing to do it. Is to get a bunch of no's and go, okay, I'll put my own money up. Okay, I'll put my own.
But that's what
reputation
happened
up.
with Apocalypse.
That's what I mean. This is interesting.
Same thing
Yeah.
happened. Because I think I don't care about money. What I care about is friends and people and kids. Money, like if you were a German at the end of World War II, you might have had $1 million. You couldn't buy a loaf of bread with it. But if you had helped some family out, they would help you out. So what's more valuable, friends or money?
Yeah.
What's more permanent? Friends, obviously. So the things we're brainwashed to think are important are not important. And the things that we're not brainwashed to think are important, which is friendship, love. He says it right in the movie when the guy goes up with the microphone. He says, there's nothing we don't do that one way or another we don't consult with someone we love.
When did you figure that out? When did you
I
figure
haven't
that out?
figured it out.
When did you figure out that money's not the be all and end all when it comes to this filmmaking?
I began to have an instinct for. I remember once. Well, first of all, when you're a young movie director and you want to make a movie, like I wanted to make The Conversation, everyone said no. No one would give me the money to do it, and so I thought, well, I know what I'll do. I'll make some money. I'll invest aggressively in the stock market. So I took some money and I went in the stock market, and I lost it all. And I said, well, that's not a very good idea. So then I said, well, here's what I realized, I'll just do stuff I love. And because if you do stuff you love, if you don't make money doing them, well, at least you love doing it. So I made some money I found this place in Belize that I bought for $20,000. I saw it as a good place I could go and write. And I ended up, if you say yes a lot, I say yes. People ask me, I say yes. If you say yes a lot, you'll be in the hotel business. Because there's always someone, can I stay at your place?
Yeah.
And you say yes. So I ended up with a whole string of hotels, and I started making money on that. Or my uncle, during did you have Prohibition in Canada?
Yeah, we did.
You
Yeah.
Well, we had Prohibition, but they were very clever about Prohibition. They let families, like French families or Italian families, they could make some wine in their home if they just didn't sell it and drank it. So my grandfather had 7 sons, and they used to make. I never saw a table without wine on it.
Yeah.
So the boys would help make the wine, but they really wanted to steal the grapes. So I would hear these stories. It sounded like fun. So when I got some money after The Godfather, I said to my wife, let's buy a little house in Napa and we'll make wine and we'll be fun. We'll make with the kids and we'll give wine for Christmas presents. So I started to do things that I loved and I made money.
Mm.
I was astonished.
Mhm.
I lost money in the stock market, but whenever I was doing stuff that I loved, I made money. So I did stuff I loved, which is easy to do.
I was going to ask you why you didn't keep making Godfather after Godfather after Godfather. And you know what I mean by that, right? When you have a successful film, you could just ride that forever.
I could have made a career just doing that. I would have been rich and successful.
But
I didn't make movies to make money. I did movies because I loved doing it. People use the phrase I hate. They say, oh, and he did his passion project. Directing movies is a passion project. Even when you make a movie that you're doing because you need the money, when you do the movie part, you're passionate about it. All movies are passion projects. You do that. You do art.
yeah.
Doing art is fun. Most of the great inventions that human beings I've happens playing with your kids. So then I said, wait a second. If what I believe that all the important inventions of history happen playing with the kids, then what about movable type? We know that the Gutenberg Bible, he invented movable type. And I said, yeah, but the Chinese had movable type. So how could I prove that movable type was invented by play? And I realized in the cave paintings where you have the hands, you have big hands and little hands, and they would put the hands up and blow dye on them.
Yeah.
And they were playing with their kids, and that's movable type.
Yeah, right. It's all through play.
So all of our creative stuff happens while we're playing, and we love to play.
Yeah.
That's why actors like theater games. I could do with you a game.
Can we do one right now before we go?
Well, I have to stand up.
Sure,
right?
yeah.
Okay, here we
Let's
go.
do it.
This is what it is. This is an easy one.
Can you pick
Let's
the
play.
same?
Everyone has to play.
All right.
Make a circle.
Okay, ready? Are you ready? Ready. Bang. Bang. Kazow.
Kazow, kapoop.
Kaboom. Snap. Smash. Boogity-doo. Oh, boogity-doo. Snap.
Now you got to do it faster. Actors get really good at it. If you do this every morning with actors, you'd be amazed what they can do, because I'll show you how complicated it gets. So let's just try to be a little fair. Remember, you catch it and throw it. You catch it with the word that was thrown, okay? Ping.
Ping. Pong. Pong. Bang. Bang. Bop. Boop. Bop. Bang. Bang. Meow. Meow. Woof.
Woof, rawr, rawr, dog.
Dog. Snap. Snap.
Okay, that's pretty good.
Hey, all right.
Okay, now I'm gonna make it more complicated. Now this is hard. So you gotta really concentrate. This is what's called in acting a concentration exercise, because actors have to be great. I mean, there's all this stuff going on and they have to hear the line and they have to step on the mark. So they have to really be good at concentrating. So this game, although it's fun, is a concentrate. You get really good at this. Okay, now what we're gonna do is hard. So really try to concentrate. Ready? What I'm going to do is, while we're throwing the ball around, I'm going to throw a second ball. And you have to keep, so we're going to have two balls going at the same time. Ready? Okay. Boop.
Wow.
Wow. Yay.
Yay. Boom. Boom. Bazam. Bazam.
Bing.
Yo. Bazam. Bing. Ping. Chow.
Chow.
Bing.
Wow. Cat.
Yay.
Cat.
Yay. Cat. Smash. Smash. Wow.
Well,
Wow.
you're
Thanks.
just standing there. What are you doing? There's two balls. Keep them going.
Okay, I'll get two. Send me yours right after. Okay, go. Wow, boo, boom, wow,
Cow.
Sam,
Giraffe.
Him.
Smash.
Smash. Hung. Boom. Pow.
Okay. Well, you get that it's hard.
2 questions before we go. One big one, one small one. One big one, do you think about legacy at all?
Oh, I have a dream that I would tell you. My dream would be that Megalopolis is, how certain films on holidays, like they show my Dracula on Halloween or on Christmas, you see It's a Wonderful Life.
Yeah.
I wish that my dream, if I could have a dream, which I probably wouldn't have, but would be that every New Year's people show Megalopolis. And at night, instead of saying, well, I've decided I'm going to give up cigarettes, or I'm gonna not drink, or I'm gonna, I'm gonna do more charitable work. Instead, what I want them to say is, we're going to have a conversation, which is the society we're living in the only one available to us, and discuss ideas about how we could make the world better. And at every New Year's, that's what they're going to talk about. Because if they do, they're going to come up with some good solutions. That's my dream.
What's the next dream? What's the next dream if you artistically, creatively? What do you?
I never have lived in London. In my life. I mean, I almost did, but I never did. And so I don't have any memory of being in London with my wife, because we never lived there. So I'm going to go to London now and make a little film in London, because it's no fun to miss her all the time.
Yeah, I'm sorry for your loss. I saw that.
That's a long time. A marriage of 60 years is most of my life.
Yeah, of course. Well, I'm glad you're still going to make films. I'm glad you're still going to do it.
Well, thank you. No, I'm going to make that. And then I have a really big project that I'm going to make, assuming I'm going to be alive, that I'll make. That one I will have to finance, because nobody in a million years would want to do it.
Lovely to meet you. Thanks for making the
It's my
time.
pleasure.